Staying with KZN now, Kwazulu-Natal has its first female premier. Zakhele Ndlovu is expected to fill the position left vacant by Zakhele Ndlovu. Several other changes within the provincial cabinet expected to take place. Let's discuss these leadership changes now with a political analyst who's with KZN, Zakhele Ndlovu, who joins us virtually. Zakhele, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We've heard a lot over the last few days since the nomination for Zakhele Ndlovu was put forward about her credentials, not only her qualifications as a professional. She's got diplomas in public management, management leadership. She's a master's degree in public administration. She's a former ambassador to the Czech Republic, and the list goes on. But she also has very deep credentials within the African National Congress in a very important province to the organization. What do you make of her readiness to take up this very important position at a time when this province is recovering from a series of crises and really needs a leadership to take hold of the situation and lead its people forward?
Yes, I think she's more than ready now to assume this position. She's more than ready. As you just indicated, she has served in many portfolios. She has been speaker, she has been ambassador, she has served as MEC in different portfolios. Just recently, she was MEC of Finance. So I think this puts her in a position to do a good job in the position that she has just been elected into.
Importantly, her last job in the cabinet with Zakhele Ndlovu was she was in charge of the province's purse strings, and we all know that always used to be in the news for all the wrong reasons when it comes to KZN. She really understands the inner workings of government as well, especially provincial government. That should really stand her in good stead as well.
Definitely. I think that if you look at the names of the female candidates that was forwarded last week, she was easily the most qualified of the three candidates. So I hope that she's gonna do a very good job as premier of the province and really be a good role model for young females out there who believe that South Africa can have a good female leader, and maybe one day and very soon hopefully we'll have a female who is the president of the country.
What do we know of her relationship with the top leadership of the ANC in KZN? For instance, there's a new chairperson, obviously, Siboniso Duma, who's taken up that position. Do they get on well? What do we know about her relationship, whether working or otherwise, within the top leadership of the ANC in KZN?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because we know that in the last provincial conference, which was held just under 2 weeks ago, she contested the position of a provincial chairperson. So she contested Duma, and of course, her campaign to become provincial chair did not succeed. So one would hope that they have a good relationship, which would explain why the newly elected provincial leadership saw it fit to second her as provincial premier.
She becomes premier, is expected to become premier at a time where the province has just been rolling from crisis to crisis, whether politically at first and then also as a result of the pandemic. We had the riots and then, of course, those tragic floods in April and May. She's really going to have to hit the ground running, and leadership changes normally mean that there is a pause almost, as there's a handover that's needed. People need to come to terms with paperwork that's handed over and the inner workings. Now we've got a change of leadership in the running of the province as well as the leadership of the ANC. It's going to make it quite difficult for them, but they need to do it pretty quickly, don't they?
Oh, definitely. But then just keep in mind that when we talk about leadership change, in KwaZulu-Natal and in the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, it's not really changed in the true sense of the word. And what I mean by that is that the ANC is still the party that is in charge. It's just the change of faces. So in terms of policy, nothing is going to change. And that's what some of us have been thinking, that whenever we have a new leadership, particularly here in KZN, we saw Senzo Mchunu, who was the premier before Zakhele Ndlovu, and then Zakhele Ndlovu, now Nomusa Dube. It's changed, but it's not the real change in that we are seeing another party taking over. It is still the same ANC. So as much as we've seen the change in leadership, but they are still going to be implementing the same policies.
Just one final question before I let you go. Zakhele Ndlovu was premier, I think, from around 2019, but he kind of became the face of KZN, didn't he? Your final word on what you'll remember of his premiership and whether you think there should still be a space for him politically in that province.
Well, I mean, I think there's still space for him given the experience he has accumulated both as MEC and as premier of the province. I would imagine that the newly elected leadership won't sideline him. But in terms of the legacy he's leaving behind, I mean, I don't think there's much to be said at this point. Let's keep in mind that in South African politics, a leader has to implement the policies that the party has agreed to. So there's nothing particularly special about Zakhele Ndlovu being a leader, because all he did was just to implement ANC policies.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. That political analyst Zakhele Ndlovu, who's based with KZN. We thank him for his time this afternoon. We'll have more news for you here on Today. Stay with us.